Hey everyone, my name is Kaby, this is kabyraGe, and today I am going to show you the strategy we ran into with my dev mate. I am playing against Vindim, who's one of the core developers of War Legends, a very experienced player and also an accomplished player. I think he's stronger than me, but once I casually met him in the queue, this evening I twice in a row beat him with the strategy which isn't particularly new. It already emerged in the previous versions of the balance. We phased out bombers from the game to counter it and also made Aeronauts more expensive. But now that one of those nerfs got back, bombers became slightly better recently, so it seems that the strategy is valid again, and my idea that evening was to test that, because Vindim on one of our balance calls, balance discussions, purposed that probably mass aeronauts might be good again in Dark against Dark, so once I met him in the queue I decided to check this idea, check this question. And this is the third game we are having, so he must already have a good idea how to probably counter it, even though he lost the previous two, but that just means that he must have a better shot this time. So what I'm doing here is the build order you guys probably already seen if you watched the video on our English channel about the Russian community final, because I'm playing something nearly what Dominator used to play with a little tweak I mentioned in that video. I built 10 workers, but instead of using the lumber scroll I use the gold scroll, because I'm quite sure that with the 10 workers you have a lot of lumber already and you don't need to spend the scroll on that. And once you have the tier 2, so you're up to 10 workers, you build barracks farm into 10 workers straight, then I get 10 goons and 2 goons and tier 2. And once you have tier 2, you have right enough money for 2 workshops. The author of this build originally was White Unicorn. Not sure if you guys had already met this guy on ladder, because he's quite high ranked, so you got to have a high win rate to be able to meet him. But it was quite a build, like probably 2 months ago, and mass aeronauts against mass aeronauts was, I'd say, a meta build in Dark against Dark, so I'm trying to use it again. So I stopped my ground army at 2 goons, and of course I'm scouting because I want to know what does my opponent play. So here we see that he is going the skeleton archer straight from 1 goon. He doesn't even build a 2nd goon, so that means that he doesn't have a unit to defend off his workers. And I was able to kill one. Well, here with the 2nd goon, so probably he was just dwelling somewhere out on the map, but Vindim decided to pull him back, which was the right call. But probably even the righter call would be to just keep the guy in the base. But anyways, that just means that I was able to trade 1 goon for 1 worker, which isn't really cost efficient, but since I wasn't able to save this guy anyway, that doesn't really matter. So my idea here actually was to take the mana well, because I'm aware that the opponents go in mass skeleton archers, and that means that the scrolls would be a good option against him, but at the same time it's almost 5th minute mark, so this chest on this precise position is about to pop up. So I'm starting to shift his units out of here. He has 1 skeleton archer here so far, so I can probably take it down quickly and dominate in the position. The problem of this build order and this strategy, though, is that you don't have many ground armor, so even if you kill the enemy's anti-air, you probably after that will not be able to even get the chest, because the air units can't get the flags. They can't get chest, they can't get the observation tower, the watchtowers, mana wells or whatever, so you still have to build something, to have something on the ground. And here I was trying to save the goon, but I wasn't able to make it. So even though I killed the goon, he was fast enough to get the chest, and it's quite obvious that I also lost the bottom chest. So currently I am 0 against 2 in chests, so my opponent has a lot more money to work with. I also see that one of my notes is very low, so I pull him back to repair later. And here I revert to my original strategy, or rather the original idea, to capture the mana well. I already built the mana tower, so I can collect mana up to 100. For now that is enough, because at least I will be able to use the magic blast, which is already something against the skeleton archers. And you can see that my Aeronauts do a significant damage. I can also note that on this map we changed the position of the mana well, so if you guys played for a long time already, you may remember the times where this chest could be captured from above, from the middle part of the map, but this is not the case anymore, so this chest can only be acquired from below, from my side, the side of my base, so the map became more balanced recently in the previous maps updates. By the way, very soon we are gonna have a huge addition to the map pool, so beware of that, and make sure that you sub on our Facebook page where we announce things, because I'm gonna share many pictures and show you guys where the chests are gonna pop up, which is a good thing to know, because they are not marked. For now, we are gonna add it actually, but it is just not ready, and maps will be significant sooner than the chest marking on the map. Okay, here you see that just one shitty skeleton archers was able to get my chest. So it is already 3 chests Vindim got, and I got nothing. So I decided to get this watchtower that doesn't bring me any resources, but map control is very important, because his arm is slow and my arm is faster, and I wanna see when he will advance on the map. And I also wanna see if I can retake his mana well safely. Meantime, I tacked up already to the 4th tier, which is quite fast, but that is something I also picked up from White Unicorn, who used to take up to the 4th tier quicker than any other player in War Legends, and I really think this is the right thing to do. And here comes the big engagement, and I already have enough mana to not only use the magic blast, but also use the circle of fire, and that leaves the skeleton archers on the very low HP. Vindim in return used the gravity scroll, which of course is an ultimate scroll against any mass air army, because it not only immobilizes that, but also decreases the resistance. So your units, while being gravitated, receive a lot more damage. Don't forget that. So it's not only about immobilizing, it's not only about being able to deal damage with the ground units, but also about the amount of damage, and of course the amount of micro you can apply. I think that was the bad call actually because the army of Vindim was going the opposite side, so I'm not sure if that was any good idea. But meantime, I also added the Goblin Lab, so from that one barrack I have from beginning, so I still have the same production, like in the 3rd minute of the game. The 2 workshops, 1 barracks. I also have the Citadel tier 4, but that's not exactly production. I'm gonna the 4th farm right now. And I am late with that actually, but I was about to trade, and that is the reason why I didn't build the farm earlier. And so it's 1 Rex and 2 workshop, and that's it. I'm trying to get the 2nd chest, and also got the bottom one, so I'm fine about the map control now that we have an engagement, and we can't even say that I exactly won that one, but I have enough Aeronauts to be able to make a snowball effect right now. And also it's hard to use the skeleton archers when your enemy has the bombers, because they obviously deal the splash damage and they're quite fine against any weak units of big amount. Here I had a bad trade because I traded 1 bomber for the skeleton archer, but that's not really too important. I'm trying to split my guys a little bit so that he can't be able to catch them with 1 gravity, but now he retreats, so all my units anyway stick in the same position. But he has to pull back because I have 3 bombers, and that's quite a lot. I'm trying to force them on the different targets in the midst of the units if I can. And even though he used the gravity scroll and attacks it with the eater, you can see that it's not enough, and the gravity scroll was used only too early. So I'm just finishing off the skeleton archers, and you can agree, I guess, that this play is very simple. I didn't really do nothing complicated. I was just building off the 2 workshops for all the game, upgrading my main building. Alright, I was upgrading the main building, adding the farms and adding the mana towers, but that's not a very hard task because I didn't have to micro. I didn't have to apply any kind of difficult micro, so here I decided to stack my units to be able to use the healing scroll on them. Also, Vindim took back his mana well, but his eater really takes forever to be killed, so in this moment I decided that I'm not chasing it anymore. I'll rather just build a napalm tower in the background and it will defend me just right. And instead of that, I'll be rushing into his base because most likely I can just finish him off right now, because he shouldn't have many right now. Alright, I thought that probably I'll leave 1 Aeronaut in behind because my wood line is quite far away right now from the napalm tower. Probably it would be better to place it close to the lumber mill, but anyways, I placed it in the position I always place it. So it's funny that the eater stunned 2 of my workers because there was no place to throw them off because there is the edge of the map. But anyways, it's pretty much defended now, and I am recapturing the mana well, which is the more important task, taking the workers back, and since the eater is low, he's retreating. Probably that's not a right call, by the way, because eater can eat and replenish the HP, and so it has the huge regeneration, and also he can use the restoration, but probably he needs scrolls to defend actually. But anyways, I come to a counterattack, starting doing his buildings. I also have a couple of bombers, but those are not really for the buildings, but rather for the skeleton archers. He really has a lot, but they can't take a good position because of his own buildings. There is also a knock tower, but I has the incredible amount, the mad amount of aeronauts. There were 14 aeronauts in the beginning, and that's really a lot. So I'm using the circle of power to be able to take the tower down quickly, and I can even use the defend and scroll over because I have a lot of mana to work with. And that's pretty much it. There's no way for the undead player to come back in the game, and using the air army I was able to counter the skeleton archers, which sounds absurd, but that's how it works, guys, and I don't hesitate to share it with you, because the more players abuse something, the quicker we will get the right statistics showing that it works this way, and the quicker we will fix it. So I always share every imba I may find, so that everyone can test it and see if it works, and also the other players can learn how to counter it. But actually we decided that we don't stop here. We don't stop at me winning 3 games with the Aeronauts, but we'll continue to see if there might be actually a counterplay. So the next try was Vindim playing mass Aeronauts and me playing the first option we decided to try, and that was the fast orcs and the fast X-Masters. And let's see if I was able to take down this strategy. So we move to the other map. It is called the King of the Mountain, the map which doesn't contain the small chests, but instead contain the gold idols, recently introduced to the game, and I am playing the blue dark player in the bottom part of the map, and I am about to try to counter the mass aeronauts with the X-Masters. So here I am going to use pretty much the build order that the winner of the Russian Community Cup used in his games. That will be again the 10 worker build, but instead of going the 2 workshops when having the tier 2, I'll be getting the Goblin Lab with the Altar of Heroes, and then after the Alchemist add the X-Masters. There's also an option to play via Orcs, but if you start with Orcs you really want to use the Wolf Riders, and in this game I'm not gonna use any Wolf Riders, and I rather need an Alchemist to be able to use the active ability to heal the X-Masters. And if you start with the Orcs, your Alchemist will be delayed, so I opt for the version with the Alchemist in this game. So here you can see the build precisely. I go up to 20 foot, up to 10 workers, significantly delaying my goon as well as the tier 2. And once I'll have the last worker ready, I want to almost immediately upgrade the tier 2, because you don't really want to lag even longer, because you already have these things delayed. But actually our tier 2 upgrade is doing in 45 seconds now. There was a time in the past when it was doing significantly longer, like 1 minute 30. So you don't always need this tier 2 very quick, and sometimes you really wanna have stronger economy first, so you must consider it. And many strong players now don't haste with their tier 2 upgrade. So anyways, I'm making the 2 goons while my main building is upgrading, and once it's ready I'm adding the Goblin Lab and the Altar of Heroes. So this is the very simple build order to play. You don't do many things, you don't send the second goon to the enemy's base, you just leave it in behind. On this particular map you just wanna capture the golden idol with your goons and alchemist. And of course I'm not cheating, even though we are playing Actually, that's not a custom game, that's not a training game, it's a ladder queue, but we were pressing the button at the same time, so we were sure we'll find each other. But anyways, even though I know what my opponent's about to play, I'm scouting, because I want to double check and I want to have the representative build, and not just... I don't want to just go like fast X-Masters, skipping everything else, because it's not fair, because in the normal game you'll just be dead by the time you'll get those. But anyways, I'm adding the third goon. My alchemist has started. With this build order, I had quite enough resources when the Goblin Lab and Altar of Heroes was ready. And once I have the 50 mana, I use the second Gold Rush scroll and take up to the third tier of the main building. Why is that? Because I need to get the Barracks 2 to have the X-Masters out, and here we advance on the Golden Idol to have the 120 gold per minute as a bonus. I also need the Totem of Orcs, obviously. I'm searching for the position of that. Not sure if this one's good, by the way, but anyways, we're starting to do those lizards. I'm trying to move the alchemist closer because they're rather ranged lizards, and the alchemist passive ability is reducing the income ranged damage, so I want to have my goons inside this green smoke. I'm actually failing with that, now I see, but at least I tried. And my Citadel 3rd tier is ready, so I'm upgrading Barracks to Barracks 2, and second Barracks soon to come. And here we see already 4 Aeronauts, so that's quite fast, I must say. And I don't even have the Orc Totem yet. And my decision here is that I send the goons over to his part of the map to at least force him to leave the next Aeronauts in the base, and I'll try to win, to buy some time with my alchemist. So I'm sitting in the aura of the Goblin Lab, but I already tried to build the Orc Tower, the anti-air tower, but he focused fire down. I'm using the active ability, but heal is not enough. There are 2 different heals, but even though alchemist in the 2 heals and in his passive ability, it is not enough, and Aeronauts take him down quickly. There are 8 of them already, so there is quite a lot, and I'm not able to even get my X-Masters. I want to use the fortification scroll, but there's still 3 mana. For me to be able to get that, I'm trying to repair, and I'm trying to use it, but it is slightly late. But anyway, he would take it down apparently. And the second barracks is being focused. My goons are here, but he has units to defend them off, and it seems that I won't be able to get even 1 X-Masters. Okay, I got 1, but what can 1 X-Masters do? And it seems that it's it. I wasn't able to defend the Aeronauts with a strategy, and I surrender. And it seems that I'll have to find a better solution. And after some consideration, we decided that we'd test an undead build once more. Vindim already tried some, but he played the build with a hero, with the Eater added to his skeletons, and his skeletons were built probably of 1 barracks, even though I didn't check the replay, but anyways, we decided that I will try to play the skeleton archers against that, and to do it like more dedicatedly. I have the skeleton archer build, so I thought I'd try it, maybe it might work. And what we do here is that we don't add more workers after 8. I cut it at 16 foot because my experience tells that it will be enough in the beginning, so we save a little bit of gold here. And still we play barracks farm, of course, but the idea here is I wanna start my goon earlier, because then I'll have my barrack busy with the skeleton archers. So the earlier I start building goons, the more goons I will be able to have before I start my push. And the goons may be crucial, because goons help to deal with the enemy's goons, while skeleton archers are not really good dealing with the enemy goons. Why is that? Because they have a penalty when they attack in melee against melee units. They have a half penalty, 50% penalty in damage, and that is of course a significant reduction. So you want something in the first lane, and skeleton archers wanna keep in the back lane. And what can you have as the first lane in the beginning phase, in the starting phase? Only the goons, so you wanna have more goons. And now, before upgrading to the second tier, I wanna add the second barracks. So this is actually not a safe build, because what's the problem? You can see that my, not the earliest, but early goon didn't scout anything, but I already delayed my upgrade of the main building, as well as I already placed the second barracks. So actually I already made a choice, and I already made an undead obelisk. So my strategy is already carved in stone. I can't change anything. And let's imagine that my enemy is not playing the 2 workshops, but he's playing the 2 barracks wolf riders, or just normal orc opening with 1 barracks and a chief grog. I'll be dead. This strategy is not valuable against that, and probably I can survive back in the base making the dark magic tower, but I'll definitely lose all the chests, so that will be a hard task to survive with that. And until I add the eater, I just can't present on the map. But I cheated slightly, so I opted for a weird build, but it is good against this particular scenario. It is good when an opponent's gonna... At least I thought that it was good. We'll see how it will turn out. But it is something against the early air, of course, because skeleton archers are not bad against air. So I'm starting off my push before the first chest. Opponent, since he's gonna play 2 workshops or Aeronauts, he can't fight for the chest either. But we are starting the push anyways. There are only 2 Aeronauts so far. I'm starting to attack stuff. We see him adding the Goblin Lab. Probably that's too soon, honestly. I'm not sure he really has to make the bombers that soon, but anyways, I'm also trying to micro to avoid all my skeleton archers to fight in melee. So I'm just pulling one of them back so that the others do the full damage, and that's the very important thing to do with the skeleton archers if you want them to deal the good damage. So I lost all the skeleton archers anyways, because he's repairing his stuff and his 2 aeronauts were able to finish him off. But I had those 3 goons I mentioned, so I decided I'd be pulling them to the worker line while I'm getting more skeleton archers. And now it's 5-minute mark and we see no red blinking, so probably I can get those chests. I have quite a lot of gold. My idea here is slightly later I'm gonna add the 3rd barracks and also killing a bit of walkers. We see him moving his goon on the bottom chest, but I'll be there faster, so I'll be able to capture it and I'll buy a little bit more time. Of course, I don't have enough here to fight, and well, I decided to build a sawmill first, and even though I have more gold, I have a lot of gold, I really need more lumber to be able to add more production. But here 1 chest goes for me, I add the farm. Skeleton archers only take 2 farm to be built, so I could really play this long on only 1 farm. And this is precisely the reason why you don't really want to rush to the Citadel 2 playing this kind of undead build, because the skeleton archers don't really take a lot of food. Actually, they should not be eating at all, but well. And I'm studying to get somewhat of the snowball, probably, or at least enough skeleton archers to take down things quickly if you focus fire them. So let's start with this low HP goon. It goes down. I split because we saw the goblin lab, so we anticipate him having bombers already. And I have one skeleton slightly in the first line. That was a good explosion. I mean, for me, I was able to split, so he didn't deal many damage. And here I try to split again, just pull 2 skeletons back, and I try to focus fire the low HP Aeronauts. So I consider this trait good for me. But now, because I placed the 3rd barracks, you probably noticed that, I spent a lot of resources on that, because every new production building costs more than the previous one. And that means that my 3rd racks cost me 600 gold, 600 lumber. So I ran out of lumber for a bit, but here is the problem I mentioned in the previous games. When you have Aeronauts, you can't capture things. You can kill things, but you can't capture. So even though I clearly lost the battle, I was able to get the middle chest with the goons. So all the 3 chests go to my pocket, and I have a lot of money to work with, and I just keep spamming things. Again, I use the basic micro. I'm trying to split. I'm not very successfully with it this time, and my skeleton stacked, and 3 of them received damage. That wasn't a good example of microing. And Vindim trying to push me back, trying to see if he can probably make something done after this explosion, but I already have quite enough. I'm trying to focus down his beaten Aeronauts, his low HP ones. It's not very easy to tap on the right one, honestly. But sometimes you can move the camera, you can make the picture bigger, especially on the little phones with the little display. You can make the camera closer to be able to tap more accurate. And I don't use the far camera, actually. Many players, when they appear on the map, immediately move the camera away so that they can see more things on the screen at the same time. I don't really do this when I'm gonna micro, because it is, for me, it is easier to micro when the units are slightly bigger. Not the greatest macro of me again, but bomber is 300 and one skeleton archer is 225, so 1 against 1 is not really good. But the second archer was low after that, so Aeronauts took him down quickly, so that becomes good. And here is the terrible explosion for me. I just lost the grip for a second, and he made a good explosion. But again, it is 10th minute mark, so my unit was forgotten in the top right corner, but that's fine. And I decided to leave him there till the end of the game. And I sent the other to the left bottom map. So they will be looting chests. And my duty here is very simple, but very complicated at the same time. Simple is because I don't really need to think. I just micro my units and order the same units over and over again. I don't even know what did I order to patrol? That was a weird moment, but I just misclicked the patrol command. We think to hide patrol command somewhere so that we don't misclick it too often, because we receive a lot of feedback about those misclicks. And once again, you can't really afford it to move the camera for a long time, but that is the hardest part of any RTS that one great Russian player mentioned when the people asked him, how can you become the great RTS player? What have you do for that? And what he said is that many players think in a very weird way, and they micro when they have to order things, and they order things when they have to micro. And you need to fix that in your head and do the things when you have to do that. So you can just call it the priorities. So sometimes I'm deadly wrong with priorities, and that's why I move the camera away and immediately Vindim blows my skeleton archers off. But mostly I'm not bad in this game, so I'm trying to attack, I'm starting to attack the barracks, and my idea here is if I take down the barracks, I'll probably be able to finish off the Aeronauts. Here he wasn't able to micro the bomber, and I also noticed, was it the second bomber? Probably just the worker repairing the barracks, okay. Anyways, I thought that I probably add the mana tower, but then I dropped the idea because I barely have enough to build the skeleton archers out of 3 barracks, the non-stop, and again not thinking at all, just microing things. I see bomber, I decided to try hold position this time around. There are different approaches you can use to micro. You can send everything back and then stop units one by one, or you can command each unit individually. This time around I just commanded individually. I like this one better, but you can use what you feel to. And the bombers go down, so I have a few seconds to finish off the low aeronauts. I take down one, take down another, only 2 left, probably 2 more will pop up anytime soon, but anyways, we see the timer, and it is 1 minute and 30 seconds until the chests, and if I get the 3 chests, the game will probably be mine. I'll probably not let it anymore. Okay, again the bomber, again I'm trying to micro, so even where I have only 3 skeleton archers, you see that I'm trying to push, because my basic idea here was not to let Vindim ever have any snowball effect with those aeronauts, because we saw in the first game how deadly that one is. So you really has to be cautious against these bombers, but you really want to take down units, not let him to repair them. I'm trying to micro, not successful at all, so you don't really can afford it to try to stand and attack building if you don't know the time and call the next bomber. But now I know that it's not coming anytime soon, so I decided to trade my units a little bit for this Rex, because there will be no as much bombers anymore, and I know that I keep producing things, so I can still fight on the middle chest. I also move even further again, because my next unit will be able to stand here to capture the chests, and here is the 15th minute mark, and all chests go for me, and that will probably be it for me, and Vindim taps out. So this is the strategy you can successfully use to beat the Aeronauts, but isn't even valuable, and is it even reasonable if you consider the fact that it is pretty much the build order loss against the meta builds such as the Wolf Riders? I don't know, you guys may try and tell me what you think, but anyways, this is the strategy Mass Aeronauts, easy to use and definitely not easy to counter. So you may try it on ladder and maybe it will bring you a little bit of wins and points. And I'll wrap it up for this one, so thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.